Good morning. I'm Urai from Leiden University in the Netherlands, and I'm very honored to join this special seminar on neuroscience and climate change. As a neuroscientist, I believe that climate change is one of the most urgent challenges facing humanity this century. And since you joined the seminar today, you may already be worried about climate change and perhaps thinking about what you could do. So let's start at the beginning and look at the big picture together. Climate science tells us that the planet is warming, that this is caused by us, by human activity, that we're pretty sure about this, and also that it's bad. Most importantly, that we have the tools to fix it. First, it's warming. In red here, you can see the increase of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere since pre-industrial levels. And since the invention of the steam engine, this amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere has increased drastically, causing a so-called greenhouse effect, which increases temperature globally. And this year in 2024, we may already be headed towards 1.5 degrees of global warming relative to these pre-industrial times. Now, while 1.5 degrees may not sound like a lot, these changes in fact push us far outside of the relatively narrow and stable temperature range that our planet has known ever since humans developed agriculture and civilization. And we know that this warming causes not just faraway melting of ice caps, but also heat waves that killed many thousands of people, floods, crop failures, water shortages, wildfires, and ultimately climate-induced migration. And crucially, these affect the most vulnerable population on Earth the most, people who often live in areas at greater risk and they have fewer ways to adapt and protect themselves. Globally, we see that countries in the global south are most vulnerable to climate change, but that these countries have often contributed very little to cause the problem. So this map of the biggest emitters is essentially the mirror image of the previous map, showing that countries in the global north cause the majority of CO2 emissions. So we live in this climate emergency that threatens the well-being, safety, and livelihoods of people alive today. And we know that these adverse impacts are unequally distributed across the world, causing big challenges to address this climate injustice. And we also know that the warming that we've seen in the past is still only a small percentage of the potential futures that we have ahead of us. So we know that children born today who might live to see the end of this century might impact very different scenarios of warming depending on our actions now. So this is quite bad. What can we now do? How can we start to think about this problem as individuals, citizens, and scientists? The basic steps that we need to take to address climate change are actually quite simple and can be summarized in just these 5 points. We need to build a lot of renewable energy, solar and wind. We need to electrify everything to run on it. We need to conserve and reduce energy demands. We need to still do some research on difficult things like flying and construction. And we need to stop deforestation and to achieve this, we need to also reduce red meat consumption and change our diets. Now, this sounds like a small list, but of course the task of getting there is quite a challenge. And how to get there is, I think, very much inspired by this book written by Professor Kate Raworth from Cambridge University. She's written this influential book, Doughnut Economics, to lead the way. And she says that we should reconceptualize our economy and our activities on the planet, not as just being driven towards endless growth, but instead of respecting the boundaries both of our planets and also the social needs of its inhabitants. Specifically, she proposes that we should respect the ecological ceiling of our planet, addressing not just climate change, but also biodiversity loss, pollution, and water use, for instance, while at the same time providing a social foundation for the Earth's inhabitant, providing enough water, food, but also health, housing, a political voice to the people living on the planet. And ultimately, this would create what she calls a safe and just space for humanity. Now, the changes required are difficult, and there's a lot of hard work ahead from policymakers, scientists, educators, citizens, and individuals. But I take some hope from the social science, which shows that when a committed minority commits to a new social norm, a social tipping point can occur, shifting the whole group to a new behavior. And here you see some evidence that a minority of only 25%, a quarter of a population, can already be enough to make the whole population adopt a new norm. So, as is the case for any successful movement, we know that change starts with collective, sustained, and local action. So whatever you do, don't do it alone. The good news is that collective action can be an effort multiplier by bringing others into the cause, by sharing. We can build solidarity, which is also sustained, and adding your voice can be a leverage point for further action. So finding your community is really essential. Talk with colleagues, friends, and family. And perhaps this seminar today will also spark new conversations, ideas, and connections to further work on climate action and climate justice. So get to know your neighbors, and I wish you a very inspiring day. Thank you.